So that's James's meal this morning. And we're going to talk about a few movies. Nothing that exciting. I tried to watch Spider in the Web 4 times because I don't know why, I kind of respect Ben Kingsley, and so I thought the first time I went through it, I did the usual thing. When I get bored, I got up and I started doing some other things, whatever. And I was actually sitting down doing artwork while I was watching it, and I still was too bored, got up, and finally I left the house, and the movie was still on. And so usually when I get to that point with a movie, I'm like, okay, the movie is not worth watching, because it couldn't even keep me in the house. So, but I tried to watch it again, and I'm thinking, maybe I just, I wasn't paying close enough attention because I was doing the artwork, and I thought, okay, well, I'll try it again. Nope, off doing other things. So, anyway, 4 times, and I still, I did get the story, which was not great, and after watching it 4 times, was not worth watching. Not worth watching once. I tried. I really expected more from that. I really did. So, Cobra, the complete series.
I guess I'm the resident expert on it, but you watched enough.
1993 to 1994. You were right. It was that late. Incredible.
And women are wearing the big
it seems
football
80s.
shoulder
Really
pad
80s.
type of thing.
And really bad. So anyway.
Any Canadian who feels arrogant with respect to the United States, watch this. It'll be a good antidote. They're very proud of the fact they filmed it in Vancouver.
So bad. We still haven't gotten through the second half of the complete series. I don't know if we will.
Oh, I'll get through it. I'll sleep through it. It was very good, soporific material.
Well, there was a lot of rock and roll kind of bad music too.
I love rock and roll, and it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad rock and roll music.
Yeah.
It was awful.
So anyway.
No. It's not as though, you don't like rock and roll that much, but it has nothing to do with taste. It is bad stuff.
Yeah. So that's very much not worth watching.
Well, it's campy kind of watch for a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it really does tell you a lot about men, a lot of men from my generation. And, there's this beautiful woman that, anybody would say the woman that's on the show with him all the time, she's beautiful, right?
I was noticing that.
Yes.
No, they've got her dressed poorly. That in the football shoulder pads, it doesn't work on her.
Yeah.
But
she is lovely. And
several issues in or whatever, I was going, yeah, she's good looking. Like her hairstyle is wrong, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a close up where her hairstyle was cut out.
And and the man he's supposed to be Studley, but honestly, he looks kind of like an ugly monkey with bad hair. Like
very bad hair.
Really bad hair. And there's this one episode that I don't know, it got my attention because the woman is saying, it's tough for me because I find you so attractive or whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
yes.
Because he or she's very attractive, and nobody would find him attractive, honestly. Nobody.
Except himself in a mirror, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm at this time, it's funny because I'm watching this and I'm doing artwork that is taking me back to my teenage years, and I'll show you later if you care. But anyway, so I've been working on this stuff, and it involves pinup girls from the 1940s. But anyway,
and 50s too.
Yeah, I'm not exclusive.
30s one?
No. I was trying for 40s, and then I actually like the 50s look more, but it got a little bit too racy for my taste a lot of the time.
Well, you're talking about the 60s to, some of these artists.
50s stuff.
Is that true? Okay.
Anyway, But I love the campiness of it, and my ex used to have these pin-up things, and so when I was a teenager and he had those, I thought, wow, he's so cool, because he had
They were cards, not pinups.
yeah, cards. They're
They'd been
cards
turned into
about,
cards. They'd probably pinups.
No, I think that's how they were released.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're cards about, if I remember correctly, about that tall and about that wide. So they're a little bit bigger than playing cards.
Yeah.
But, you know, honestly, they're war era things, and I don't know if they were released in a different format before and after.
Hard to say.
Right?
No.
Because maybe this was just a size that could be passed around the trenches easily or carried along, and I don't know, right?
Mm.
So, but he had these cards, and I thought that's so cool. So anyway, so I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about how, you know, guys were, like, I remember I had this boyfriend that when I was a teenager, and the guys, they were, for the most, okay, I shouldn't say. Anyway, I'll just tell you, so he had this car, this fancy car, and he liked to pull up along buildings that had a lot of reflection in the windows, and he'd say, "Look how good you look in my car."
Wow. Okay. Whereas
And that's
any sensible
so
guy
really, I
would
mean,
say,
he was,
"Look how good my car looks with you in it."
I don't know, but he really loved that car, and honestly, I definitely got the impression that he was more dating the car, and I was, you know, a third wheel, and whatever. But honestly, it's an interesting generation I lived in.
It is.
And I guess, you know, people say that about every generation. They say, wow, you know,
Every generation
I
has
live
its,
in an interesting time. And it's, yeah, I definitely felt that way. It was very educational. So, not pleasant, but funny if you have a sense of humor about things. And fortunately, I do. A lot of people will, I've had a lot of people run into me and say, "Oh, look, you do have a sense of humor," or, you know, they're genuinely surprised that I have a sense of humor when but they don't realize I've been joking around right along. They just haven't caught on to all of it, and they're genuinely surprised when they realize I have a sense of humor. But I mean, you noticed it right away, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So anyway,
It's a little too subtle for some of the people who work with. So
yeah, I mean, I don't like James, whenever he has a joke, he'll make a joke face or something, you know, to make sure it comes across as a joke. With me, I do not do that, and I don't find it funny when people do that, honestly. And I understand why you do it.
oh,
Because
comics do it. You know, like with Johnny Carson, it was it this or something like that.
Yeah.
But Jay Leno was, you know.
Sure.
And,
I know.
People need that. Most people
Most
need
people
that.
do, and I don't need that, and I don't find it, I find it kind of patronizing, I think, when people do that. It's like, oh, you want to tell me when I should laugh at you? Like, honestly, if I can't figure out the joke on my own, you weren't funny, right? But anyway.
Comedians have to get used to that. Understand they have standard jokes set up. If it doesn't work, you know, like you've seen stand-up guys or gals, they'll go, oh, that one didn't work, and then they'll have some sort of crazy joke where they turn it around on the audience. So they'll pick someone out in the audience. They didn't think that was funny again. But
so anyway, we just ended up. This Cobra was. I mean, I'm watching this while I'm doing my artwork that's inspired from those times, and then at the same time I'm going through these Koons books. I got
Jeff
through
Koons?
through Interlibrary.
I thought you were going to mention him right away.
I
thought
will
you were
later.
going to. Yeah. I thought you were going to.
I'm going to do a whole talk on Jeff.
So get ready, people.
It's going to be awesome. And I have to say right now, I have a lot more respect for Jeff Koons, having gone through the books, because nope, I'm going to go through, it's going to be a whole lecture because I have a lot to say about Jeff Koons. Anyway, and we just went through a funny movie that James was amused by it enough that he went through it on the internet. He looked up.
I checked up a bit.
So
on just Wiki, you know.
So what was that one called again? It was Seth Green and
Sex Drive.
Oh yes,
Sex
Drive.
Green.
And so anyway, I was,
Seth Drive.
yeah. So and anybody who knows me knows I'm a big fan of Seth Green.
Seth Green
and
is.
most people don't understand why. When
He's funny.
when he is.
I don't
funny.
think we've seen him.
And
we might have seen him in a loser movie, but never in a loser role, because he always
he's
makes
awesome.
the role work, right?
I've been following him along since he was in X-Files when he was young.
That's amazing.
And,
I can't see him that old.
he's
I
always
see him
been
as
awesome.
constant, permanently 18 till I die. You know?
Yeah. And a lot of women, they don't know why I like Seth Green.
Well, he ain't a looker, poor fella.
No. And but I do like redheads. So
He's got a bit of a reddish tinge, doesn't he?
very much. So anyway, but that does. I mean, I'd still, even though he's a redhead, I don't find him attractive. But that's not. Physically, I don't. But he's very funny, and
He's kind of got that ironic
he's-
thing, like David Slade. Only he's not as obvious about it as David Slade.
Spade.
David Spade is that wee
I
little
think that's
weed.
his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But no, I like him too, though.
I like him pretty good.
I
I
don't
hate
think
the
he'd
fact
be a
that
nice person.
No.
But, no. But
I think he's one of
very
those
funny.
Donald Trump supporters and stuff. Like
Whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, Seth Green he's worth it. He's one of these people you could tell he really thinks about things. And I mean, there's a lot of, in the Sex Drive, there's a lot of jokes about anal sex and stuff like that. But
Yeah, it was almost
that's my
off-putting.
generation.
Yeah.
And you got to understand it. So, and honestly, when some people from my generation are talking about it, I don't know that they really understand what's going on. But when you look at it, a whole big picture thing, you get it. And anyway, so what they did with Sex Drive, they put 2 discs, and the one was the unrated version. And I put that in first, and the guys who made the movie were saying, if you put this in, watch the other one first, because this one's gonna suck, you know. And
They were kind of right.
yeah.
The funniest part of it was when they were talking and doing such a bad job of reading off the cue cards and stuff like that. I thought it was going to be good, but yeah.
No, but it was funny in its own right. But the movie was, I mean, it was better the way it was intended, right? And there's some things that don't make sense, like the donut, being in the donut costume or whatever that was. Was it a donut?
It was a donut with Mexican hat.
I don't know. Anyway,
I thought it was pretty good. But
it was funny, but it didn't make sense. Why
he
is
was
he
in
in
the donut?
the car? It would have been in the trunk, presumably.
He worked at a donut shop, right?
Yes.
And,
but how did he end up in the costume, having been stranded out away from the car naked? Did they throw the costume out of the trunk?
He was making out with that girl on the donut costume.
Oh,
outside
on the
car.
costume.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was,
okay, so it did make sense.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
made
thing.
sense. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, and it was funny that he was in the costume.
The donut costume was it was awesome.
It was such a good joke. You know, the donut costume at the beginning of the movie while he's walking through the mall is hilarious.
Yeah.
And I got
We
something
won't give it
special
away.
for your little girl.
Yeah,
It's hilarious. And then when the police officer doesn't know who's talking because he's not moving. It's so good. It's so funny.
That cop deserved full pay. He did a great job there.
So it's
very much like some of the cops I've known and worked with.
So yeah, it's over the top. It's meant to be over the top, and if you don't get it, well, I feel very sorry for you. It was a funny movie. And the second disc is funny in its own right because they just throw in a whole bunch of like a naked woman will be jogging by just for no reason, just
in front
to,
of a scene that's
Yeah.
I think she's just running in front of a green
Sure.
thing or whatever.
just
but,
just so that they can show
it's
more
unrated.
boobs and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
and it's funny, right?
And they have the occasional guy running.
Yes, they
they-
have a guy juggling. Watch for that.
See, there we go.
Um,
Although there is not equal representation. The movie's basically for
It's made for guys.
guys. Yeah.
Guys from my generation. Maybe a little bit younger too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Oh, it was
Honestly,
a fairly young movie, I gotta say.
anybody would think it was funny though, wouldn't they? Unless you were some like really opposed to nudity and stuff like that.
Nudity, crudity, all the udities. Ludity, is there such a word?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, my dad would be totally offended, but
Yeah, but
I don't know.
There's a lot of people out there that just want to dictate what other people should be allowed to find amusing or
Yeah.
arousing or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's not right.
this
you
is
can't.
true.
I would rather have freedom of expression of everything than people dictating.
Yeah,
what
so
other people
don't go
should.
yelling fire in a theater and don't go putting out contracts on people. That stuff should be. And the other thing is, like if people are bullying individuals, like calling them down for being this, that, and the other thing, then that's a problem. If it's
No, definitely. But I found
like if they're talking about groups of people, I don't think
there were so many things in that movie that made it worth watching, made it worth talking about, and I was surprised, honestly. At one point, a guy who was doing a very good job acting, he was punched by another guy, and he was punched so hard he had to shake the guy's hand to congratulate him on how well he punched, and they were pals after that, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, and he shakes his hand and he says, wow, my kids are going to be retarded after that, or something. And he uses the word retarded, which this is not a really recent movie, but recent enough
2008.
that this would not have been
It wouldn't
politically
get the
correct at all.
seal of
And it wouldn't have
approval
been
from-
when I was a teenager either. People saying retarded would have been politically incorrect, and everyone's up in arms about it.
Actually,
why?
there was a person in a linguistics class. They did a poster presentation recently on who used retarded and how often out at the university, right? And I thought more women would use it, but it was way more men.
Really?
And, yeah, high number.
I'm surprised.
I'm surprised too. But I generally, the people that I hear, it might be because I hang out with people at the university, but this is people at the university. Anyway, I don't know. It wouldn't have been scientifically controlled or anything like that, but it's studies like this are important because it suggests cause for further research, right? But there was a large number of people, not just men, but women out of the university said, and they were admitting that they used it. There'd be some people who use it, but I'm not going to say.
Well, I have to say that the fact that people don't want to use retarded is retarded. If somebody is making fun of somebody with Down syndrome and laying into them, making them cry and using the word retarded, and that's horrible.
If
That's
they're
horrible.
going after a single person.
It has nothing to do with the word retarded. It has to do with how they're treating somebody else. And honestly, sticks and stones, names can never hurt. And people have to get used to the idea that it's not the name, it's how it's being used that's offensive. It's the behavior aggressive behavior can't be tolerated.
Yeah. So
It's not words.
People should get a bit of a sense of humor. Here's one thing, like there's a professor, I like him pretty well and stuff like that. He's got an Irish sense of humor. And I've got cancer, and he was offering a course for 3 of us, but I was the only one taking it for credit. And he was, there were rumors going around that he was going to offer maybe a follow-up to the course, and he said, I might, somewhere in the future. Wouldn't it be funny if I offered it and then you turned up terminal and able to take it, right? Yeah, I just laughed. So, some
Did
people
you tell
might
him that you had cancer back? Or
No, this was a while back. You know what I'm saying? So I had it then. It's just I was in remission.
Yeah.
So the deal is, I just laughed about it, and it wasn't as though I was laughing it off. It was funny. People get a sense of humor. Get a sense of humor. If someone's picking on you individually, then there's a problem with bullying or stalking or something like that. But if they're just talking about stereotypes, and you're not people can make fun of intellectuals all they want. I'm not a stereotypical intellectual. Maybe I am. I gotta live with it. Is it a choice? To a certain extent, it's a choice. But I was raised that way too. I was raised to read books and all that sort of stuff. I had classes, all this sort of stuff. So people make fun of intellectuals generally. Intellectuals got to be able to take it. I understand they're really not very good at that. But.
And another funny thing about the movie, and honestly, I'd recommend Sex Drive, the movie, to everyone. Watch both this, it's funny. And there was a part where Seth Green was, his character was talking to another character about some woman crying while she was giving him a blowjob and saying, I wanted to be a PhD, and he's like, you're a PhD in my cock. And it's funny.
Yeah.
And that's my generation.
You actually found that one funnier than I did. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because it's honest.
Yeah.
And funny. Because a lot of women from my generation, they probably thought, oh, it's gonna change for women. It's gonna be different, right? And I'm gonna be a PhD, and I'm gonna be successful and whatever. And didn't happen. They ended up getting ass raped their whole. I don't know, adult life, teen life, whatever. Rather than becoming successful and having equal rights and everything. And it's like, no, the weak are dominated. So you're always going to be dominated in a society where dominance rules. So if you're a weaker person physically, you're going to be dominated. And good luck. I mean, if you made it and you're part of my generation and you went through the system and you have a PhD, well, you're probably a yellow personality, or you're an aggressive type, or else you're a blue and you excelled at math or
there's some
chemistry,
but
or
I
something,
know.
and you're in some lab somewhere or behind a bunch of numbers, and you're just fine, sheltered from the world.
So yeah, I know someone who went and got a PhD, and she's bitter about the whole system because, I don't think most people consider her a looker, maybe not even herself, and she's bitter about women who have made it to the top. And this is not in Hollywood. This is in academia by using the casting couch system. Mm-hmm. So, and she has a legitimate beef. There's no doubt about it. It's still happening. We still got hoser profs, and it's not just the 60 steps. These 60 steps are retiring. I was talking to one prof. I'm not going to mention the discipline, but he was shocked. He's a young pup. He'd be about your age or something like that. And did you meet him? No, yeah, I won't mention it. But very nice guy, very thoughtful, and all that sort of stuff. And he was talking about how many undergraduates he's met. These would be women who were unapologetic about using the casting couch system. They saw nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's wrong. It's more wrong on the part of the professors who are using it than using the students. But it's the students really aren't using the professors, but they're using the
We're
system.
probably out of time.